I'm Ginny Urich, and welcome to the 1000 Hours Outside podcast. I have Anne Marie with me today from Gabb Wireless, and super excited because we absolutely adore our Gabb phone. I almost picked up my own because it looks so much like my own, but this is not a smartphone that looks like a smartphone. It is the perfect first phone for kids, and also I think a great phone for adults. We're going to be talking about just phone usage today. Gabb's got an awesome a smartwatch. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of things today, technology and kids. And so thrilled to have Anne Marie here. Could you tell us what you do at Gabb, sort of how you ended up there? What was your journey to where you're at right now?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I am a mother of four first. My kids range in ages from 6 to 16. So we are in the trenches of kids and tech and figuring parenting out. And so I actually found Gabb Wireless because I was looking for an option for my own son. My oldest child was asking for the iPhone, and I knew I didn't want to hand one over, but I thought, well, perhaps if there was a phone with parental controls, maybe we could do that. And so we gave him an iPhone that did have parental controls. But what we found just even a couple months in is that we lost the battle of him being behind the screen. And so I did some research, found Gabb, we gave him the Gabb phone, and it changed our family forever. And I came knocking on Gabb's door and said, I believe in this product so much that I very much like to be a part of what you're doing. So that's how I found Gabb. I've been there a year. I handle public relations. And really, I just talk to parents about different and better options, and Gabb being that safe tech solution for their family.
Yeah, I love that. I love simple things that can change our life. And what a statement about phone and technology. I'm going to throw a little disclaimer out there. I think that some of the topics we talk about may be a little sensitive. So if you have little kids around, this might be a good one to read on the transcript or throw some headphones on. Because I think a little bit of delicate, we'll dance around it, but there might be a little bit more adult topics in this conversation, because that's kind of where we're at, right, with technology. I want to tell you a story, Anne Marie. So I used to be a piano teacher. I don't do it anymore because our life is a little too crazy, but I love piano, and I played since I was 4, and I've taught, dozens and dozens of students over the years. And I had just a couple years ago this little girl who was in kindergarten. So she's 5, she's 5 years old. And I'd had her for a couple months, and then it was the holiday break, and she came back from the holidays and she said, I got a Fitbit for Christmas, and I'm pretending that it's my phone when I go to school. And it was so impactful to me because I thought, oh, these pressures are starting. There's so much pressure. And I just remember peer pressure when I was in school. I just felt like it's enormous. And now there's this pressure for technology. And so I wanted to ask sort of what's been your experience with that? What do you tell parents? Does the Gabb phone bridge that gap a little bit for children who are really feeling that immense pressure? Let's just talk. Can we talk about that? Peer pressure and all that sort of stuff.
So technology isn't going away. And so, of course, this child growing up in this digital age, she is experiencing what we didn't, which is, okay, as you grow and you mature, you get a phone. So to her, that Fitbit is like a badge of honor that she's now mature. But what she's missing, and what she doesn't know, and as a parent we do know, is the dangers that happen when you give technology too soon. And so that is exactly why Gabb exists, because it allows tech in steps to occur. As a parent, we've gone through the teaching our kids how to ride a bike. We start with the tricycle, and then we take off the training wheels, and we work through that process. Same with swimming. We don't drop a child in the ocean. We teach them with lessons. And that is exactly what we've done here at Gabb, is we're giving parents options to then teach their child how to be responsible and be healthy tech citizens as adults, because we didn't experience it. This is a new thing for us as a parent. And so this journey is not only new for our generation, but it's just a new world that we're trying to master. And so that's why Gabb has laid out the steps and given the tools for parents to succeed.
I love that. And so this is a solution for parents that are feeling that immense pressure, for kids that are feeling the pressure. I mean, I have the two phones here. Our son has used the Gabb phone. He just turned 13. So this is his, and then this is mine. You know, they look the same, you know.
They do.
So are parents saying that, you know, I know kids can be really cruel. Are parents saying that it's good enough, you know, especially for starting out, it's checking that box so the kid has something, you know, that they can flip in their pocket. Yeah.
Well, our phones have all of the essentials and not any of the junk. And so it's that perfect first step where the child starts to learn how to text.
Yeah.
How proper cell phone etiquette. They're learning how to calendar. They're learning all of these essential tools in a way that they're able to understand, rather than giving them a phone that has all sorts of different side doors, back doors, traps that then lead to very harmful things.
Yeah.
You know, we're as a parent, I'm very aware of who my kids are with. And interestingly enough, when you give your child a phone, you give away that protection, because there's no protection even with the phone that has parental controls.
Yeah.
There's things that kids are getting their hands on that frankly they're not quite ready for. So the Gabb, you can know and be completely confident that this phone was built entirely with safety in mind. And when you give them the Gabb phone, it gives them all the necessities that they need.
Yeah. And I love your analogy of that everything is a learning process. Everything is growth. And so this is a tool that our kids will ultimately end up having, probably, you know, most likely. And so to do it in stages and to teach, like you said, the different etiquette and things along the way is ideal. I mean, I can just picture myself being a kid and that pressure, you know, that all the other kids have it. And so what an awesome solution for parents. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to tell you another story. So talking about sensitive topics. So I used to also teach in the public school system. We homeschool now, so I'm home with my kids, but I taught for 5 or 6 years, and I taught high school. And then my last year, I was the math coordinator for our entire district. And so I was in and out of these different classrooms and making sure that everyone's classroom aligned with the other classroom and standards and things like that. And so one night I was at a parent meeting, and it was for 7th graders. And I was there to talk about the math curriculum, but the police were also there. And they were there to talk about that the 7th graders were being intimate and videotaping it on their flip phones, and then sending it around to all the classmates. And so this would have been in 2008, 2007, 2008, no smartphones yet, you know, and I just impacted me quite a bit, because you think, well, those are things you can't take back, you know. And I think all the parents there is like, it's not my kid, right? But even if it's not your kid, everyone knows it's going on, right? Everyone knows who's involved and so it just, you know, I think we have to be realistic about the dangers that are lurking with the phone usage. And so I'm sure that's something that you're familiar with. I saw on your website, you talk about kids are in digital danger. So can you talk a little bit about that? Kind of what's going on?
That's right. That's right. And, you know, not only are they in digital danger, but they are needing open communication to understand what digital danger is. They don't even understand, as you said, what they're getting into. Phone companies, not only phone companies, but just apps and all sorts of different technology, they lure kids in. They're in the business of danger. They're monitoring, they're step by step, wanting them to become more addicted and more addicted. And so as a parent, you have to have that communication. Sure, it's uncomfortable at times to think your child may be exposed to nudes. It's uncomfortable to think that they are in danger. But just as you would talk to your child about putting on a seatbelt because of the potential of getting in a car accident, you need to talk about these dangerous situations because they will have them. I've done this enough to know that I've talked with parents and they say, oh, but my child is homeschooled. They will not be exposed.
You just don't know. And I think,
you just don't know.
This interesting thing about the nudes, because I have this vivid memory of being with, I have a friend, she had kids that are, a decade older than mine, and they were teenagers and mine were still little. And we were driving somewhere, we were talking about dating, they were in high school. And so, are you dating anyone, or who do you like at your school, or that sort of thing. And this girl, she was 14 or 15. She said, every single guy asks you to send nudes. Mm-hmm. Every guy. And I had never heard that word, Anne-Marie. I didn't even know. I was like, what is the word? What are you talking about? I didn't spell it. Can you spell it? Like, I just didn't. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a different life experience for these kids, to have those pressures, and that this is what everyone's talking about. And, this is the pressure that you feel because maybe this other girl is doing that, or this other guy. And, so I agree with you. It's something we really like those good pictures, bad pictures books.
Yes, we definitely like that. We've used that in my household as well.
Yeah.
It's a great.
It's great.
Yes,
it's great.
What it does is it gives parents tools to then teach their child. So they have this tool belt that when someone asks for a nude, they know, okay, my mom talked to me about this. Like, this is what's going to happen. It's uncomfortable, sure, but parenting is uncomfortable.
Or right?
Life can be uncomfortable.
Yes, they give you a tool if pornography pops up, which is to just turn and walk away. Don't try and turn it off. Don't try, because then other things are going to pop up. I love that, and I think you have to have these practical tools because no one taught those to us because it wasn't an issue, right? We're in new territory. I like what you said about Gabb filters. No, they have, let's see, 100% less chance of exposure to mature content because there's zero internet, social media, and games. That's bold. 100% less chance. It's for sure, because they're not going to be getting it on their phones because their phones only text and call. So I love that. You say kids have a right to be protected. So one of the things I read in your site is that kids are being exposed to pornography by age 11. Do you know what the age used to be? Is it kind of dropping lower and lower and lower?
It is because parents are giving phones to their children younger and younger. Yeah. So sadly, that statistic does continue to lower.
Right. Yeah. And so kids are on the bus and no one's watching, or these different environments. And, those things can have lifelong impact.
Right. And, parenting is exhausting. And if there are moments that you cannot monitor all the time. Yeah. And if you give them a phone, they'll be in their room, they'll be on the bus, as you said, and they will be exposed. And if you haven't given them the tools, then how can they thrive?
Yeah, I think these are really important conversations, Anne-Marie. I think for whatever reason, we're really protective of our kids in other ways. It's like everyone is wearing knee pads and elbow pads and helmets and wrist guards when you go skateboarding, but for whatever reason, we're dancing around this topic of digital danger. And the consequences are very real and long lasting. So I really like how you guys put that. And I think they're important things to talk about. You guys also talk about how technology affects the brain and the body. So one of the things that I noticed about our Gabb phone, so we got a Gabb phone. Our oldest was 12. He's turning 13. He wasn't asking for one too much, but here and there, his friends are starting to get him. And, so I was trying it out, right? So I was like, got a social media influencer thing, trying out the phone. Mm-hmm. And I love the phone. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. But what I found was I am hardly talking about it because it's just sitting there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's really what you want, right? The kid is not like this all the day, you know, it's just, I'm like, where's the phone? It's sitting, you know, it's just sitting on the counter. So, um, how is this constant, you know, hours a day, 7 hours a day, you read about these statistics, how is this affecting the brain and the body?
Well, as an adult, we know clearly once we've been behind our screen what it does to us. Can you
Yeah.
imagine a child that can't self-regulate?
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many issues, especially with coming out of COVID and quarantine, of kids just they are experiencing the highest ever of anxiety and depression. And I mean, our nation and the statistics speak for themselves. And people wonder where have we gone wrong? Well, where we've gone wrong is kids are living behind the screen. So I love that you said that your Gabb phone is just there to connect and protect, and that it allows your child to live outside of the screen and find confidence um, out playing and being with people and connection, because that's truly how kids learn to regulate themselves, so that they do notice going down the road when they've been behind that screen far too long.
Yeah, so that they can notice in themselves the differences that they feel. You know, for us, so we do this thing of this 1,000 hours outside, right?
Yes,
And so,
we love what you do. It's really great.
So thank you. So, you know, our journey was sort of shifting from programs when my kids were really young. So we were doing programs, and it was exhausting, and it didn't feel like the value was there in terms of the amount of work and effort to get little kids to different programs. And so we sort of switched to this open-ended, it's a, you know, it's a little bit of a story, but this open-ended play and how powerful it was. And at some point I added up how much time we were spending outside, because I had read in a book from Dr. Scott Sampson, he says that, it's a quote, he actually got it from the National Wildlife Federation, that kids play outside for an average of 4 to 7 minutes a day, but they're on screens for 4 to 7 hours. And so it's this huge imbalance. And so I added up how much time we were getting outside, and it was around the number of screen time hours and that kids are on for a year. And so it's sort of like this bringing back a balance thing. But it was really eye-opening, because I thought, okay, well, if kids are on screens for 1,000 hours, 1,200 hours a year, and we were just outside for 1,000 hours or 1,200 hours, I could visually see like what they were missing, right? You know, like what would my kids have missed if we had replaced, you know, instead of all of these hikes and these picnics and these playing at the park and walks around the block, you know, what if that would have all been behind a screen? And so one of the things I really, really love about Gabb is that you guys, you advocate for life. You know, you have the Gabb Life movement to connect kids to what matters most with safe technology solutions. So tell me about this Gabb Life movement.
So the Gabb Life movement was started by Colin Karchner, who was a big fan of Gabb. He rallied Gabb. He was a big believer in life.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So he was the one that really motivated us to create this movement of there's a better life than behind the screen. And, you know, when kids look back at their childhood, or even when we look back as an adult, we look back at our childhood, we don't ever think about the time we spent looking at a computer screen. We think about the walks, the hikes, the dinner conversations, the time, that eyeball to eyeball moment of connection that happens when you just have the discipline to turn the phone off. And hey, it's hard as an adult, but we have to set some sort of an example, so that our child and children then learn that truly it's that connection and living that life outside the screen that provides true happiness.
Yes, it does. I did an interview a couple weeks ago with this guy's name is Dr. Chris Winter, and he just wrote a book about sleep.
Yes.
And this is interesting because we talked about serotonin. Serotonin turns into melatonin, helps you sleep at night. So you can get a big boost of serotonin in the morning just by being exposed to sunlight, which I think is really cool. But he talked about all the other things that release serotonin. It's just like soup night with your friends, or, you know, it's just all these just simple connections and, you know, just getting back to how powerful those things are. And I think it's
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of intention,
It does
to
take a lot of
have,
intention. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But I love the Gabb life, living beyond the screen,
Yes.
you
And
know?
one thing that we do to promote living life outside the screen is we have a series of contests for our
Yes.
customers. And so a child that may be really great at flips on the trampoline, they could enter a contest and then be celebrated for that. Or someone
Yeah.
who spends time behind, as you teach piano, it takes hours and hours to master
Yeah.
that skill. So we celebrate them. We
Yes.
celebrate that they're
Yeah.
living and they're
Yes.
experiencing a better life, which is a Gabb life.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that kids will remember that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
internally they know, even though they like the screens and they're drawn to the screens and there's video games and all these things, I think that they will take with them into adulthood. These were the best times of my life, these certain accomplishments. And I think it has to be celebrated. I think 20 years ago, 30 years ago, no one's talking about how much time kids are playing outside and how much free time they get. But these days, because it's so hard, I think culturally, and because there's so much pervasive technology, I think anything that celebrates real life, hands-on, is affecting generations.
I agree. And
Yeah,
celebrate just growth in general. When your child
yeah,
grows, celebrate it.
yeah,
It's really
yes,
something as they grow, that if you're able to pinpoint and celebrate them, that then
yeah,
it just increases a desire for them
yeah,
to learn more and that inner confidence. When we took the iPhone away from my child, my oldest, and gave him the Gabb phone,
yeah.
I'm sure there was about 5 or 6 days where he pushed back, but in the end, he thanked me
Mm,
for giving
wow.
him his life back. Really, it's like that sparkle came back on. And even though
Yeah,
we did have the parental controls in place, you are so sucked in to that world. And once you're able to just break away, then you realize there's a better life
yeah.
out
Well,
than behind that screen.
there's a documentary, and now I can't even think what it's called, but where they talk about how we are the product. Um,
Yes. Oh, yes.
that our time, and so sucking us in, we become the product. That's why it's free. It's not really we're what's our attention is what's being bought and sold. So, um, I think these are really important things to be aware of, and good to talk to kids about all these things, because they're going to be parents, right? If you have a 16-year-old and I have a 13-year-old, it could be the next decade where they're going to be grappling with the same sort of things. And so I think that when we model for our kids, and also when we talk about things like, here's why we got you a Gabb phone,
Mm-hmm.
here's why we chose this. Let's talk about why, because then it gives them tools for when they become parents. And so I wrote this down because I really like it. The more time kids spend living beyond the screen, the less time they will have to sit in front of a screen, which is just great. I mean, our best days are the days when we run out of time for technology. And that's sort of what we're trying to do, is to fill it up with what we want it to be filled up, and then have that leftover time be for technology, as opposed to the other way around. If people wanted to join in on these Gabb Life contests, where do they find those?
So they go to gabblife.com
Oh, that's
and
easy.
or gabbwireless.com, and it
Uh-huh.
will link you there. And
Yeah.
we're just getting ready to launch a whole new series, a new year of
Fun.
exciting contests.
Oh,
We've been
fun.
working on it, and they're going to be the best yet. We had so much success last year with contestants from all over the country, and this year is just going to be bigger and better.
That's great. I love that. I love that it came from Colin. What a legacy.
What a
That's
legacy.
really
And,
awesome.
we fill him every day, Gabb,
Oh,
wanting to make him proud, because
yeah.
what he stood for and stands, what he would preach about is
Yeah.
exactly what we're set to
Yeah.
do, is give
Stop.
safe
His
text to
things.
kids.
Stop giving smartphones to kids. And we said it
Stop.
over and over again. And
He
that
did.
is the simplest, 5 or 6 words, and that would change our world, right? Stop giving
It would
smartphones to
change
kids.
our world.
It
Mm-hmm.
would. Okay, so here's a thing. I was telling my in-laws this morning, because they've got my youngest girls for the moment, and I was telling them I'm doing this podcast, with Gabb Wireless, and I'm running home to get ready for it, and my father-in-law says, I want a phone like that. And I've had a bunch of adults message me and say, I bought one for myself.
Yes.
So even with our 1,000 hours outside, it's a kind of geared toward kids, but then a lot of times adults just pick up on it. They're doing it on their own. They're doing it with their dog, whatever. So
Yes,
tell me
that's right.
about sort of the shift toward adults who want to have a simpler option, who don't want to be addicted to their phones.
Well, there's this movement called Gone Gabb, and people go Gabb over the weekend. I have a Gabb phone.
Oh, that's
I go Gabb
great.
over the weekend just so I can unwind and really connect with my kids. And not only are adults doing it, but we have Max, who actually oversees our contest. He's a college. He's in the last year of college, and he came to Gabb because he is a Gabb user and he loved it so much. It's interesting. Our company keeps growing because of customers that love our product, and he's one that he's in his 20s and he wanted to have the discipline to focus on school. He's working full time. He's married, and he wanted to spend his time on things that really matter. And so he's gone Gabb 100% of the time. So you're right. It is something that appeals to parents as well.
Yeah, because you guys say it's the perfect first phone, right? That's part of your sort of terminology. But then, so my father-in-law was saying it's like rolling back in time. That in some circumstances people are really wanting that and needing that. Like, hey, wait, hold on. Let's back up a little bit. And they were even talking about people they've seen that they continue to use flip phone but you don't, you move backwards. And I love that. So he was super into it. And like I said, I've gotten a lot of messages from parents who said, I bought it for myself, or just not even parents, just adults, and I love that. There's so much practical information on your website, practical ideas. And so I like some of those. So I don't know how much you know about what's on your site, but I wanted to read a couple of these and maybe you could, if you have any thoughts on them. You said the average teenager spends, it was on your site, 9 hours a day connected to social media. Set one time each day for a couple days a week that your kid can check social media, and then, have the rest of it be off limits. So this is how we've always done technology, which is we have a yes time and a no time, basically. This is when you can, so that when the kids are bugging about it, I want to watch cartoons. Sure. I want to say, sure, on Saturday morning, that's how it was for us, because that's the only time they were on. So limit setting, you have, what are your thoughts on just that idea? And
we limit set in my home. It's worked for us. I think it's important. As you said, I have a 16-year-old. He'll be out of my home in a few short years, and I want him to be able to self-regulate. And I think the best way to teach him is to then give him give him limits. I want him to be a happy, healthy adult. So how do I do that? I limit and teach him now, because soon enough he'll be out just trudging his own path.
Yes. I found a whole list of ideas, of easy low prep activities for kids, like running through the sprinkler, jumping on the trampoline, paper airplanes. So just bringing it up because I think that it's really neat that you don't just sell a product, right? You sell a lifestyle, or it's the whole thing, that you really are caring about people having a full life. So, I really liked all the ideas that I found on the Gabb site. You talked about friendships on there. The kids don't need 842 friends, it said. They just need a couple really good friends, and that as parents, we can help them facilitate friendships.
And that's healthy. That's so healthy. Even with my own children, I'm having to have this conversation with them. I am personally very social. I love friends. I always have, but it's that core group of friends that you trust, and you have that constant connection with, a healthy, balanced connection that adds to my life. It's not the 900 followers or whatever that person may have. And to make that distinction between likes and real friendship and connection, it's very important, because it gets mucky for someone that hasn't lived that, or children. And it's just, again, that open conversation, giving them the tools, helping them understand, because they just don't get it. It's just a different way to they haven't processed real friends, digital
Right.
friends.
Right. This is a different thing than when we grew up. You just had your
Yep.
friends, right? And then you went home from school or whatever. But with these kids, they're connected all the time, and
Yes.
everyone has followers, and everyone has likes a certain amount. And so there's this number to it. But yeah, you talk about, having these conversations that really, we want to have close knit friends. It says, consider things like leave phones at the door party. I love that. Movie night, bowling, board games, cooking pizza, hosting a bonfire. It's like, I really think that parents are having to step in a little bit more than maybe they used to have to.
Differently,
Um,
step in differently.
Step in differently. So normally, like when I was a kid, everyone played in the neighborhood. Well, that's not happening as much now. So I think as a parent, there's maybe a little more effort there, that you've got to help your kid plan the pizza party, or you have to step in with some different ideas. But I think that there's a lot of value in that for the parent as well. I'm finding that with our group of friends, we have now family friends, and it's like all the kids get together and the parents, and it's very enriching.
Mm-hmm.
So
And we don't want it to be overwhelming. It doesn't need to be
yes,
overwhelming, or it doesn't have
yeah,
to be very expensive. And we have this list of different activities on our site, right? Like, as you said, that don't cost anything.
yeah,
And it's really not a lot of work to help them understand game night, come on over.
yeah.
And that importance of putting yourself out there to then understand true and real lasting friendship.
Yes,
And
yeah.
also,
What? It's
it's
great.
when you brought up the constant connection on social media. That's another. I just wanted to backtrack a bit, because bullying on social media, it never leaves. And so the flip side of these social friends is they bring home this. They can bring home these harmful things that have happened, and it's constant.
Wow.
So the nice thing is if you make that connection between, okay, this is a fake friend.
Yeah.
This is, and you have to talk them through that distinction. Otherwise, it just becomes very, very confusing for a child, and becomes a personal matter, and they
Wow.
just can't end that thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't thought about that too much. I remember being in seventh grade, and it was like there was like a group of three friends, and it was constant, like two were pairing off against the other one, right? And it was always switching. So it's like some days you had no friends, and then some. I don't know, it was just a mess, right? Like middle school drama. But
Yeah.
it's like you'd come home from school and it was done, or you would have a school break and you didn't have to deal with it for 10 days or
Right.
whatever. So that's an interesting part. One of the things I read on your website is not giving the smartphone power in your home. So that's what that makes me think of, right? That when the child has that smartphone, all of those situations come into your home and have a lot of power and hold a lot of power. Well, if they don't have the smartphone, then it's just like when we were kids. You come home and you leave those things there, and you don't have to deal with them. That's a gift.
It's a gift.
It's a gift to those kids for sure. You talk about parents leading by example.
Hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
I'm constantly monitoring my behaviors, because it's
yeah,
and luckily I can feel when I need to turn it off and turn it on. But
yeah,
it as the leader of my home, I need to be able to show them how to have healthy digital habits, because
yeah,
they learn, as you know, by example.
yeah. And I think I had not heard of this gone Gabb, like the weekend thing, but
Yeah.
even a nights and weekend thing. It's like it's actually really an interesting thing. If you have your phone, you have it for work. I think a lot of us do, right? We're doing a lot of work on our phones. But then if you set that aside and just switch to the other one, that's really
Right.
that's an investment in your family.
It is.
It's an investment in, the relationships and the strength of them. It seems weird, right? Like, would we have two phones? But, if that allows you to put one away and just, to be able to call your mom or, text a friend or whatever, you're still available to your close knit social circle and your
We're
family.
Absolutely. And we're seeing people buy the Gabb phone as a home phone, so that
Yeah.
when parents are away, that they're still able to connect and feel protected.
Yes. Actually, someone messaged me about that too, that they said, because people don't have home phones anymore a lot of times. So, um, that's a great idea for a home phone, and just like a nights and weekends phone too, so that you're more engaged. Um, I read on the website, it's never too late to start. And I really loved that. I think that's a powerful message that we always have the capacity to make a change. And I think that when we make changes, it's a good model for our kids because their life is not
Absolutely.
good. No one's life is static. Everyone's life is all over the place. And so part of modeling how to do life is to say, look, this isn't working. Um, let's make a change. Do you guys get stories a lot about people who have made a change, and what are some of the
Constantly,
things?
yes.
Yeah, what are
Especially
some of
with
the things?
that first child, that guinea pig.
Yeah.
Parents don't know. I didn't know. I thought parental control would be enough. And so the first child,
Wow.
people will come
See,
and say,
it's
"Oh,
your
I made the
story.
mistake." It's my story,
It's
and
your story. Yeah.
it's told time and time again because parents can relate. They just didn't know there was another option out there, and
Yeah.
so they think, "Oh, parental controls will be enough." But what they find is it's just not for that first phone. Or they've given their first two children, perhaps an iPhone, and they've seen the damage that has occurred. And so they are completely draw the line in the sand for that third child. And they say, absolutely no, my two older children have been so impacted by an unlimited phone or whatever, a phone that didn't have restrictions on it, that then they say, you're right, there is a better way, and I'm going to do it. So it's up to it's interesting as we're all on this journey of parenting, and sometimes we learn the hard way, and really sometimes we just didn't know there was another option. And so, as you said, it's never too late.
Yeah. So tell us, Anne-Marie, tell us about the two sort of main products you have. So this is the Gabb, this is the phone.
Yes.
And I mean, my personal experience is that it's fantastic. So tell parents how it works, network, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So we're our own network, and so parents know that it's month to month, and they can just try it out. It's
great.
It has 14 essential apps: calling, texting, calendar, calculator, camera. So it's all of the essentials, none of the junk. It's under $100. It's such a great product, and it's peace of mind. And it was built with safety in mind. We don't track, we don't sell information. It is 100% safe, period.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it holds up well. It's got a great design, and our kids have been very happy with it. And I know a lot of people have. It's a really great price. I'll throw a discount. I've got a discount code through 1,000 Hours Outside, so I can throw that up on our blog posts and in the different social media channels. So there's that. So that's the phone. And then this is new, right? Or newish. This is the watch.
This is the Gabb watch. I've got one right here. My 6-year-old has one. My 11-year-old has one. We love it. It is so good. It's that perfect first phone for that younger age. And it is fun because the kids can run and play and go Gabb and live that Gabb life. Yet there's an SOS button if they feel they're in trouble, that will then link to the parent's phone and notify them that they're in trouble. There's 10 different contacts that the parent chooses from the My Gabb app on the parent's device that then the child can call. It has a game called the Gabb Go game, and it's a game, and I use that word loosely because it's the only game that you can play by living, and the parent assigns tasks to the child to help them be motivated and stay active. And once they have accomplished that goal, then they get coins to then feed their animal. So it's a fun way for parents to teach their child the importance of an active lifestyle. Yeah. So it has fun colors and bands, and the connection is great, and it's durable. We have these amazing covers on the watches, so if they fall and trip, that it won't harm the actual watch. It's a win. We use it in our house constantly, and it's you as a parent, if you're not quite ready to give them that safe smartphone, the watch is a great solution, dropping them off at school so they have it. Another great feature is it has GPS, and so a parent can check in on their child. If they've reached a certain destination, it can alert the parent through the My Gabb app on their device that they've arrived. We've got safe zones, so it's just set up for parents to feel connected to their child, yet also with that peace of mind their child is safe and they're not going to be
Yeah.
exposed to things that they really aren't ready for.
And it is this training wheels approach, right? Which is that we
Absolutely.
really have to look at it, I think, as a teaching tool. As how are we going to teach safe technology habits? How are we going to teach balanced technology habits to our kids? What an awesome product. And I think everything is priced so well and so high quality. So I'll put some links there for people that are interested in looking. If people are wanting to find Gabb, more about Gabb Life, about Gabb, about the products, where can they go?
GabbWireless.com. You will find articles and all sorts of educational information to help you parent, products. We are the safe tech solution, and we want to help you every step of the way. It's exhausting. It's a hard journey, but if you have this knowledge that there is a better way, and there's peace of mind in that we will be there as you navigate this really sometimes mucky digital journey with your family.
And even the knowledge that you're joining in with a bunch of other families, I think that that's powerful too. That to hear your story, and it's similar to a lot of people's stories, which is we tried it, it didn't work, we changed course, and a couple weeks into it, our son said thank you. To have that power in numbers and to know that you're not alone in dealing with these really pertinent issues. So that's awesome. Can we end with a favorite childhood Gabb Life moment of yours? So usually I ask people what was a favorite outdoor memory of theirs as a child, but what was a favorite screen-free, life beyond the screen childhood passion or moment of yours?
So of my child, or
of you, yours personally.
Oh boy, this is fun. So as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I love people, and I've always loved people. And I would say from a very small age, my mom probably would say 4, I made friends with the neighbors, and I would always go and knock on their door, and they'd come out on the porch, and we'd sit and have a little chat. So I'd make the rounds, and my mom would kind of watch from the porch, just making sure that that all was safe and well. But again, I just loved connection from a young age, and been a big advocate of going out there and making friendship happen, because there really isn't a better reward in life than that true friendship, whether it's with someone much older than you or of your same age. But there's just something magical about building friendship.
I love that. And here you are as an adult, really taking how you were as a child into your life. And so that's a really good reminder for parents that when kids have time to delve into the things that they're passionate about, that's usually setting them up for long-term success, because you don't know what's coming. And a lot of times we sort of stay with the way we're bent. So Anne-Marie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your inspiration and for these tools that you've given parents, and just even the inspiration to think about the tools, to think that we should be thinking about the tools and how we should be approaching technology with our kids. So really appreciate your time, and look forward to just sort of staying connected and seeing what you guys are doing.
Thank you. I hope that your listeners know that they are not alone in this journey. It's rough and it's hard, but there are solutions out there. And I hope that some of the different options we've talked about will resonate with them, and they'll feel a bit of hope that there are some different solutions, and that we're there for them.
Yep. I love it. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Thank you.